Hello, my name is Shannon Mason and I am an assistant professor in education at Nagasaki University in Japan and an adjunct at Murdoch University in Australia. And for the last several years, with my collaborators Margaret Merger and Julia Morris, who are both at Edith Cowan University in Australia, we have been researching the thesis by publication. And this is the first in a series of videos that look to distill some of that research. And our goal is to make the TBP journey a little clearer, a little less daunting for doctoral candidates, but also for supervisors and others who might be supporting doctoral candidates who adopt this mode, which is becoming more and more popular in an increasing number of countries and fields. So I'm just going to put myself in the corner. So the first question that we're going to address is what exactly is a thesis by publication, and I'll generally call it a TBP. The first thing to note is that there is no one definition, and definitions change, guidelines change depending on the country, the institution and the field. So even within one institution, there'll be variation across the disciplines as to what exactly is a thesis by publication. What we see is a variety of names for this approach. So we've seen any of these: thesis by publication, thesis with publications, PhD by publication. We see multiple paper thesis, a 3-paper thesis is often a nickname it's given, often in Europe. We choose to use the thesis by publication because it appears to be the most common, but also because it doesn't use the plural, and we'll talk about that in another video, because a thesis by publication doesn't necessarily have to have more than one. Okay, so, and also a thesis by publication as we define it may not even be called anything in particular. It may not have its own special name. It just may be the thesis that happens to include some publications. What it is not is a PhD by prior publication, and this can be confusing because it has sometimes in the past been called a PhD by publication also. But a prior publication model is where a doctoral degree is conferred on someone who already has a body of work. Perhaps they've entered academia some years ago when it wasn't a requirement to have a PhD, but they've shown that they have the required knowledge and skills to have that degree. And so it's conferred upon them based on a prior body of knowledge. That is not what we're talking about when we talk about the TBP. So what is a TBP for us? And we want to have a definition that allows us to establish some boundaries for our research that's flexible, and this is our definition. So we have doctoral candidates who are going on a doctoral journey. This is a common analogy that's used. And they are going on this journey. They have the goal of completing their doctoral research. They're reviewing the literature, gathering data, analyzing data, reporting. They're doing all of the things that they need to do. But at the same time, they're also going on another journey, and it's adjacent, it's interconnected, but it's different. It has its own goals, it has its own specific knowledge and skills, and that is the journey of scholarly publishing. So at the same time as the usual skills and knowledge that they are developing as a doctoral researcher, they're also developing these skills as a publisher of that research. Now, what is important for our definition is that those publications, and I use quotation marks here, and we will talk about that in another video, because publications don't necessarily need to be published. They might, for example, they might be still under review. But these publications, these outputs, are included in the body of the thesis, and they're an integral part of the evaluation. So it's not, I completed my thesis, I'm going to submit my thesis. Oh, I also published 2 papers and they're in the appendix. Or I published 2 papers and I'm just going to cite them. The publications or the outputs are included within the thesis, and they're part of the evaluation of that thesis. But also important to note is that the TBP is more than just the sum of the publications. It is not, hey, I did 3 publications, I'm going to staple them together and submit them. It is a single and coherent thesis that generally needs to be submitted that includes publications, but the publications themselves are not the sum, the totality of the document. So that is our quite broad, but this definition has been really important for us in our research, because we're looking at the journey, but also how doctoral candidates put those publications into their thesis. So that is our definition of the TBP, and if this is something that you are interested in, we're going to have a series of videos answering some of the questions that you might have, and if you have any of your own questions, please pop them in the comments. So thank you.